Hey everyone, it's Techie. I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is on third-party controllers and their performance on PlayStation 5. So I recently got my own copy of the Dualsense Edge. Unfortunately, it's not a brand new one, but it's still in really good condition. And in the past, I was always borrowing it from a family member to make a few videos here and there. Ever since getting my own, I have to say the performance of Dualsense Edge on PS5, it's absolutely amazing. And I was feeling a big difference when playing with the Nacon Rev 5 Pro or the Victrix BFG compared to Dualsense Edge. So I made a community post. I did some high-speed screen recordings the other day, and in this video, I'm just going to share my results. So a quick mention on the testing method. I recorded 240 frames and basically moved the right stick all the way out and just let go and basically counted the frames, how many frames it took for the screen to register any input. Now, doing it this way, there are times where you will capture a very slight movement in one of the frames of the stick, or it happens that you capture a lot more movement. So the result can vary by a frame. So what we're looking for is the spread of frames it's taking between the initial movement of the stick and when are we registering the frame on the screen. So it can spread. It's not like it's always going to be the same. If it's 8 frames, it's just going to stay at 8. It could be between 8 to 10 frames. But that's what we're looking for. What's the fastest and what's the slowest? And basically the average would be something in between. Now, all the controllers were using the dead zones that just eliminate the drift. So Nacon Rev 5 Pro has the 0 dead zone option now. So I was using that, and the in-game dead zone was set to 3. That's where I didn't have any drift, because if I go to 2, then I had a little bit drift. And the Victrix BFG has built-in dead zones. But the way my sticks are, there is a slight drift that can happen towards the left, and that's what I was testing. So I was using 1 dead zone setting for Victrix BFG, and for the Dualsense Edge, I was using 3 dead zones. First up, I have the Nacon Rev 5 Pro's results, and these are the wireless results. And like I mentioned, basically everything is done from the point that basically the stick is moving. So just quickly going to show you guys one example here. So this is where the stick has moved. And then I'm just counting how long it's taking for the screen to register a movement. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now 13, I have like very obvious movement. Sometimes on a prior frame, you can get very slight movement, but you'd have to pixel peep. And if I did get any slightest movement, I counted it as that. So I didn't discount. I didn't want to make sure that, oh, it was a lot of movement. Any slight movement, even a shimmer changing or a texture moving, whatever, I counted as that. So if I go over the results of the Nacon wireless, I got 13, 14, 13, 13, and 12, 12. So yeah, so 13, 13, 14, 13, 13, 12, 12. So easy, it's between 12 and 14 frames wirelessly, the Nacon on PS5. And when I added the wired connection, things improved a little bit. I started seeing 11 frames and 12 frames, and this was very good. So I didn't see a 13 frame when we basically go wired. It's still not the best connection, but yeah, it got more consistent. So we have 2 11s, 12, 11, 12, 11. So it definitely got way more consistent than the wireless, which was like sort of a little bit inconsistent, but it's still not the best. And adding a headset didn't add any latency and stuff. So I did get like 113 frame, but it was consistent 12, 11, 12. So using a headset wired did not add any latency. And it was the same thing doing it wirelessly as well. It didn't make it so it went to like 15 frames or whatever. So if you're using a headset plugged in, the results were the same. The Victrix BFG, these are the wireless results, little bit better. So I got 12, 13, and then 3, 11. So between 11 and 13 compared to 12 to 14 of the Nacons. It's a better result wirelessly. And if we add the headset, yeah, I did not see it go to 14 frames or anything like that. It was 11, 12, 12, 11. So using a headset did not add any extra latency. So that's good. Coming to the wired connection of the BFG, yeah, these are so interesting results. So I get a 12 frame result, but then I have 11, 2 11 frames, 10 frame, and a 9 frame as well, which is absolutely amazing for a wired connection. But I could never get a 8 or a 7 frame result. 9 was the quickest, and it was going to 12 frame as well. So, you know, see 2 11s and a 12, and then 10 and a 9. So it's spread between 9 to 12 frames, and I think this is the 125 hertz. It can have a larger sort of inconsistent spread where controllers that are wired and they are more, because I've noticed this behavior on the standard Xbox controller as well. But if you are using like 250 hertz controllers, the spread is usually much closer between 2 frames. But still, I would say BFG wired 9 to 12 frames, way better than the Nacon Revolution's 11 to 12 that it was. So yeah, definitely feels it better as well. And then when I connected a headset in the wired, yeah, it didn't go to anything to a 13 frame or whatever. It was still 11, 10, 9. So the 9 to 12 that I got wired is a pretty a solid, understanding of like what the BFG is performing like. But here's the thing: once we come to the standard PS5 controller, things change. Now this gets so considered. This is the wired result for a standard DualSense controller. So we have 8, 7, even a 7 frame result as well on the DualSense, and then we have 8, 9, 8. So between 7 and 9 frames, very consistent results. Never a 10 frame result when we're going wired. And if I added the headset, it was the same thing. So 8 and 9. So yeah, it did not add any extra latency using a headset when the controller is wired. Wireless this is where I saw that 10 frame result. So we have 10, 9, even an 11 frame result, 9 and 10. So the wireless, we have between 9 and 11 frame spread, and when it was wired DualSense, we have between 7 and 9 frames. So wired, definitely a better connection. This is Dualsense Edge. This is interesting. Dualsense Edge gave me way more 7 frame results. So I only have 2 on the timeline here, but I have like 3 more. But yeah, so 7, 7, and then we have 8, 9, 8, 9, 9, and 9 as well. I tried a lot of tests on the DualSense Edge, never could see a 10 frame result in wired, just like the standard DualSense. So very, very good connection, and this is exactly what I'm feeling whilst gaming. The DualSense Edge actually performs really well. Now here we have the wireless results. So DualSense Edge wireless, we have 8, 8, and this is where I saw that 11 frame, 10 frame, so we have an 8 again, 9 and 8. So wireless, it went from 8 to 11 frames. And if you think about wired, it was going between 7 and 9. So 7 and 9 seems to be like the best sort of responsive result that we are getting, right? And this one is, now things get really interesting. So Nacon on PlayStation 5, we have wired results are 11 to 12 frames, right? This is Nacon Revolution 5 Pro. I believe $200 US, 200 British pounds here, and 229 euros or something. Really expensive controller, but the best performance is 11 to 12 frames, right? Now the Nacon has a Xbox version which is like less than half the price of this one, and these are the test results of that Xbox version on Series X, and this is absolutely mind-blowing. So we have 9 frame, and then we have 2 8 frames, and we have 2 7 frame results. So the Xbox version is actually performing like a DualSense Edge on PlayStation 5, which is insane. So just to show one result here. So this is where the stick moves. So here the stick moves, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on the 7th frame, it might not look like on the screen that it's a move, but if I basically zoom in, so you'll see this top part that it's actually moved. So 7 frame result on a cheap, when it's full price, it's like 100 British pounds, or I believe $100, but I got it on sale like 60. So 7 frame results, it can do 7 to 9 frame on Xbox, but 3 times more, like more than double the price. The Pro variant on PS5 is so much slower than the Xbox variant. That's absolutely insane. Now, the other thing, BFG, the Victrix, they have the Gambit on Xbox. I don't have the BFG for Xbox. I'm contemplating getting it. I don't know if I want to add that to my collection, so I'm not fully sold on that one. But these are the results of the Victrix Gambit. They are wired only anyway. But yeah, this is amazing. So Gambit, PDP claims like it's like the fastest Xbox controller, and it sort of shows. So it has 7, and then we have an 8, and then we have 8, 8, 8. Like, I couldn't get a 10 frame or a 9 frame on the Gambit. And the ridiculous thing is, Gambit has built-in dead zones, right? So does the Revolution X. It's around, it's more than, on the Revolution X, I think it's more than 5%. For sure, more than 5% dead zones, because they haven't released a FPS Pro mode, the 0 dead zone option for the Revolution 5 Pro, but it's performing so much better than what the PlayStation 5 version is doing on PS5. And Gambit, again, I think it's like around 5% dead zone on the Gambit, I think so. But even with that, my results are just insane when it comes to their performance on Xbox. So absolutely crazy. I'm going to show this result as well. So this is where the stick has moved. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 7th frame, it's a very slight movement. Like I mentioned, sometimes it's a very obvious movement, sometimes it's a very slight movement. So if I go back, you'll see here, so it's a very slight sort of move. The texture is moving there, but it's a 7 frame result. So yeah, Gambit, which is nowadays is actually a lot cheaper, can do 7 to 8 frame results, which is absolutely amazing. I love the Nacon Revolution 5 Pro. The triggers are really nice to use, even though they only cut 50% of the trigger pull. The resistance is so good. Using it for single fire was a breeze on Call of Duty. The bumpers are so nicely placed. The matte feeling and the tech switches used, they work absolutely perfectly every time. Then we have the back buttons. You can actually use these simultaneously, these 4 back buttons. I did have to put some grips onto the top ones because they were very slippery for my use case. But yeah, honestly, the whole controller feels so premium. Definitely a very, very good feeling controller. My playstyle is very different when I'm using this one, and I do really enjoy using those back buttons and the whole controller, but unfortunately, this is not as responsive as a standard PS5 controller or the Dualsense Edge. BFG, for me, definitely has better triggers than the Nacon Revolution 5 Pro, and they are so good to use. The bumpers are not bad, but not like the Revolution 5 Pro. The back buttons, though, are very good. These are not micro switches, but the tech switches they use are actually a very good feeling one, and they place very well. Weapon swaps, slide cancel, using this controller definitely is a very, very good experience. But unfortunately, like I showed, it's again not as responsive as the Dualsense Edge or the standard PS5 controller. Dualsense Edge is an amazing performer on PS5. I know this is 1000 Hz and it really shows with the aiming response. You feel so connected to your aim, and I have to say it gives me a lot of confidence. Unfortunately, it only has 2 back buttons, but the aim feel is so good, the responsiveness is so amazing that I actually sacrifice having 4 back buttons and keep using this on the PS5. Honestly, I know it's Sony's own controller and stuff, but yeah, if you try this, it was going to spoil a lot of other controllers for you on PlayStation. I think this is definitely the best performance on PlayStation, and I wish it had 4 back buttons. That's one of the things that's missing. Triggers can be better, but I use the R1, R2 to shoot anyway, so it's something that doesn't bother me. Ergonomics, yeah, I'm actually getting used to it, so definitely when it comes to performance, the best performance on PS5 so far that I've tried. Why the third-party controllers are not performing like their Xbox counterparts, that's strange. I know Sony was fine towards the end of last year or beginning of this year in France about some third-party manufacturers not being able to get onto the licensing program, and Sony released a firmware update and banned their unlicensed products and stuff, which is a normal practice. And I thought, like, if you are banning unlicensed products, that's just normal. But if you read that in detail, the fine is because the manufacturer just could not get a license from Sony. That's not the case anymore, because these, the Nacon controller, the BFG, and the Razer one as well, they are all licensed. but still, for whatever reason, they don't perform like the standard PS5 controller, and they are nowhere near the performance of their Xbox counterparts. So if you're on PlayStation 5, DualSense Edge, or a standard controller, or maybe a third-party modified controller based on the standard controller is probably the best way to go. I am actually thinking of getting the Scuff Reflex, a 4 back button controller that I could potentially use as my daily driver. But yeah, that's a different story. I've never had a third-party modified controller before. Now I'd like to ask you guys to share your thoughts in the comment section. If you have the DualSense Edge, or maybe one of the third-party modified controllers like the Scuff or AIM or something, and you have an experience of the Nacon or BFG, please leave your experiences in the comments. So what you guys think, is it that big of a deal? Do you feel the difference like I've shown and what I feel? Because for me, it's actually a very noticeable difference. And yeah, it'd be amazing, not just for me, it'd be very helpful for a lot of others as well. And I'd like to say thanks to everyone who subscribed. Your support really means a lot, guys. And yeah, honestly, big thanks to you guys. And thank you so much for watching this one. Hopefully, I'll catch you in one of my other videos. Bye for now.